Hi, I'm Ben, and my lesson is on making gains, which has to do primarily with diet and fitness and a lot of misconceptions about both. Now, in our class, two topics we really try to look at are what are popular misconceptions about diet, and also what might be some barriers that prevent people from working out who would like to get fit. Now, regarding the first point, one popular misconception that we look at is the idea that fat is bad for you. And if you've ever looked in your local supermarket, you'll probably see a lot of foods branded as low fat, from snacks to yogurt to milk. And it's a common belief that from many people that eating these low fat foods is somehow a healthier decision. In all actuality, in the 1960s, a lot of sugar companies who were trying to sell more sugar lobbied for more research to be done that portrayed fat, saturated fat, and cholesterol as ingredients and nutrients that were particularly bad for you and would contribute to heart disease, while downplaying the roles of carbohydrates and sugar. And so what you end up seeing was in the 1980s, when the USDA went to publish their nutrition guidelines, the only available research was this research that, first of all, disparaged fat and saturated fat and cholesterol, and meanwhile didn't really talk that much about sugar. And so this led to the boom of what's known as the Snackwell phenomenon, named after a popular low-fat snack from the time, where a lot of foods were marketed as being low-fat while being extremely high in carbohydrates and sugars. And unfortunately, what we end up seeing from the 1980s onwards is a spike in obesity rates across America, as many Americans end up consuming these so-called low-fat healthy snacks under the impression that they would contribute to their future health, and when in fact they were just consuming a lot of empty carbohydrates and sugar through these processed snacks. And so what we've learned since then is that natural fat is actually quite good for you. Like eating things like butter or avocados actually can contribute to making you feel more full and eating less food overall. And while fat actually has more calories than carbohydrates, in the long run, eating whole foods are going to lead to overall fewer calories consumed overall compared to, say, just snacking on processed foods. And so that's one popular misconception that since has been debunked. That being said, a lot of these sugar companies continue to lobby in third world countries such as Nicaragua or Costa Rica, where there's less information on these types of nutrients, and continue to push their agenda forward. And so what we're seeing currently is a spike in obesity in those specific countries. And unless we do something about education regarding regarding fats and carbohydrates, not a lot can be done to address this epidemic in those areas. And so the second part of our lesson talks about maybe barriers to entry for those who would like to work out but do not have the means to do so. And so one thing you end up seeing, for instance, is people who make a New Year's resolution and want to go to the gym, but perhaps feel pressure to not be able to do so. And so we discuss a lot of ideas regarding maybe what prevents them from doing so. And one interesting topic that we address is perhaps the idea that most people don't enjoy putting themselves under stress in an environment where they need to focus on something they don't like, or work as, say, beginners in a certain environment. So for instance, if we had someone who wanted to become fit make a New Year's resolution to go to the gym, and then they go to the gym, but over there, most people who show up to the gym tend to be relatively physically fit, and say this person is running on the treadmill and they're getting more and more tired, they have to do a lot of focus on their body. Maybe they have to they're forced to look at the fact that they might not be as healthy as they'd like, and everyone else around them, meanwhile, is doing extremely well. And they are also extremely tired, they're not particularly happy, and then when they go home, they might, say, eat some snacks that they enjoy. But in the process, they think, wow, these snacks cheer me up so much. And over time, this connotation develops where the gym equals, say, bad things, unpleasant things. and foods that they like that might be less nutritious for them might equal good things or positive things, and this leads to an eventual reluctance to, say, go to the gym. Now, the real way to overcome, say, this fixed mindset mentality where we don't want to embrace these types of challenges is to recognize that for positive, meaningful growth, you always need to, say, fail a little or put yourself under stress by doing things that are challenging for you. And only through developing new learnings from your failures can you continue to figure out how to improve and move forward in the right direction. So we tend to be typically under the impression that by doing things that we're good at, like we will continue to be good at them and so on and so forth, but only through stress can we have progress and meaningful growth. And that's, at the end of the day, an important lesson regarding setting goals that can be applied not just to fitness, but to all aspects of life.